Okay. This is gonna do one more? No? Full swing? I mean, we just go for it, right? Like, there's no advantage not to go for it. So that's blocking the most damage, and this isn't enough to kill. Hey everyone, Raptor Spank here, and today we have On the Grind, the show where I cover a deck I'm playing in Ranked. This week I'm messing around with one of the new cards, but it's a bit of a very old deck, much like last week's episode, but essentially I really like the look of Ruined Rex, and so I thought, what deck could really benefit the most from that, or really get the most value out of your Ruined Rex? And so, went back to an old favorite of mine, which is Fizz TF Elusives, card draw, whatever you want to call it. Kind of aggro-y deck, but also kind of a little more combo-y, where you're not going super aggressive, you just have one huge combo turn that kills your opponent, usually. But the big advantage of the deck is that it draws a ton of cards because of Pick a Card and Rummage and then other things like Zap Spray Fin, for example. There's just so many ways we cycle through our deck and draw cards, and all of these things make Ruined Rex even better. So I wanted to try out Ruined Rex in the list, see how it went. So here's the current list I'm running with it, and let's start off with the Champion package. First off, we do have those 3 copies of Fizz, because he's just kind of the best threat at 1 mana. We have a ton of cheap spells and just good spells to turn him on, so he gets elusive, so he's hard to block. He's also extraordinarily hard to kill, because if you cast a spell, he cancels anything that's targeting him. And we do have a number of ways to make him a lot bigger as well, which synergizes really well with this too. And we have so many spells that we cast that we can level him up very quickly. And even his champion spell of Playful Trickster can really win us games out of nowhere, because it gives us that whole extra attack, and you can pull some other card out. So like you swing with 4 elusives and then a non-elusive, they block the non-elusive, and then you Playful Trickster, pull that one out of combat, you still hit with all of your elusives, and then you get to go again, so you can hit them all over again with your elusives and just kill your opponent out of nowhere. So every part of Fizz is good for the deck, so just a really, really good threat for us. Even though it's not really a critical card for the deck. You can lose your Fizz and it's not the biggest deal as long as you have other good elusives to kill your opponent with. Fizz actually isn't that important, he just happens to be one of the most cost-effective threats. And of course, also 3 copies of Twisted Fate, because we do draw so many cards, so Twisted Fate is a great payoff for drawing cards. And not only that, but he is a bit of a toolbox hero, so he can kind of find everything we're looking for, since he has the red card for a board wipe, he has the blue card to keep us drawing through the deck and giving us mana back, and then he has gold card for stunning one huge threat. So he's just kind of a neat catch-all for a lot of things. So even though it's not as easy to level him up anymore, you're not going to do it in a single turn like you could previously, but yeah, it's still worth running. He just does too much for the deck. On from there though, follower package. It's pretty small for what is an aggressive deck, but there's a reason for it. But basically, we have 3 copies of Ballistic Bot. Really, really good card in the deck. Gives us that 1 damage every turn, but more importantly, it synergizes really well with Fizz and a number of other things, because it gives us a ton of really cheap spells. We level up Fizz really quick, we get our Wiggly Burblefish down to 0 really quick, but also it just gives us a reliable way every turn to put elusive on Fizz, so he can keep swinging without any fear of being blocked. So that's really good, and since we are an aggro deck, burning our opponent out slowly with these Ballistic Bot ignitions are really, really good for us. So that's one obvious reason to be running all 3 copies. Up from there, we go really far up the curve real quick, because we have 2 copies of Zap Spray Fin. The big reason here is it's another elusive threat. It's a 2/2 for 4, which isn't terribly cost effective, but it has elusive. It gives us a mana back for costing spells, and more importantly of all, it draws us a card, which is really, really good for everything we're trying to do. Helps us level up Twisted Fate. It just does so much good things for our game plan. So easy include of 2, and then we have the Ruined Rex that I mentioned, 2 copies of this as well. I didn't end up going the 3 copies because once you start going up to those numbers, you have to really start digging into some of the more important combo pieces. So for the time being, only running 2 copies of it. But essentially what it is, it's a 5 mana 3/3, so again, not terribly cost-effective body, but it can barrages for every card you've drawn this round, up to 5, so it's not going to do a full Riptide Rex of 7, but we actually do have a ton of ways, like pick-a-carding the previous turn, to actually get up to 3 to 5 triggers of Cannon Barrage ridiculously easy. So this'll blast things for 2, and if they're dead, it deals 1 to the enemy Nexus instead, but essentially it's kind of like a board wipe for us that kind of clears things out and also deals damage to our opponent's Nexus if they're doing nothing. So it gets us some sweet stuff on that, and a 3/3 body's not that bad, so it's kind of threatening in its own regard, although it doesn't have anything like Elusive or Fearsome or Overwhelm to get through. It's basically just a way to kind of bring things back into your favor against some of the aggro decks that are a little bit faster than Fizz Elusives. And finally, 3 copies of Wiggly Burblefish. They may have nerfed it, but we're still a Burblefish deck. You can do so many nuts things with Burblefish that it would be crazy not to run it, because we very easily get it down to costing 0, and it is a 2/1 elusive threat. If we can iterative it, we have a 3/2, so just so much value we get out of Burblefish, so it would be insane not to run it, all 3 copies, so we're doing it. As for the spell package, we do have 3 copies of Poro Cannon, which is why I said we kind of pseudo don't have many units, because we are casting Poro Cannon to give us Daring Poros that we are then also playing, because we have a number of ways to pump Daring Poro or create a bigger copy of it in hand. It just does a lot of great things for us, and since we are an elusive threat deck, every elusive we can get is really, really solid. So Poro Cannon is there to give you 2 flying threats, essentially. Up from there, we do have the 3 copies of Stress Testing. Still really good in the deck because we have a lot of things that give us fleeting cards. So this is a way to turn our fleeting cards into real cards, which is really awesome. And then more importantly, too, if you discard it, you draw an extra card. So it helps us turbo level up Twisted Fate, or we can pitch it with like a Poro Cannon to get an even bigger Ruined Rex. It just synergizes with everything we're looking to do and does it all for 1 mana, which is really, really sweet. We also have the 3 copies of Iterative Improvement. This does so many ridiculous things in our deck that it would be insane not to include this. Yes, sometimes we can even copy our opponent's things, which can be great if they're somehow out aggroing us, but they've given us something like a Tavern Keep. We can steal their Tavern Keep to gain health. But the most common thing you're going to do with this is you're going to either copy a Daring Poro to give you a 1 mana 2/2 with Elusive to just run your opponent down quicker, or the real best play, you're going to copy a Wiggly Burblefish because you're going to make a bigger Burblefish, and it's going to cost 0 because it's a Burblefish, and it still has all those cost reducers. So you can just keep chaining Burblefish after Burblefish and just kill your opponent out of nowhere with this horde of flying threats. So that's the best reason to run Iterative Improvement. And we also have 3 copies of Mystic Shot because we're a Piltover deck that is kind of aggro-y. Why not run Mystic Shot? It kills a lot of things, including our opponent. So I love having access to burn, especially fast speed burn, because it makes it so no matter what, you're almost never drawing dead because you could always hit those burn spells and kill your opponent. We're also running 3 copies of Pick a Card because while it's been nerfed, it's kind of cheaper and easier to cast, but it still draws us 2 cards instead of 3. 2 cards is still really, really good, especially when we're running Ruined Rex on top of Twisted Fate. So we have a lot of card draw matters cards, so cycling through our deck is very, very important. So having these extra ways to do that just really helps out what we're trying to do, which is also why we're still running 2 copies of Rummage, even though it got absolutely blasted into space in the nerfs. So 2 mana is up from 1 mana is actually a huge cost for a card that doesn't really give us any card advantage unless we're pitching a Stress Testing, but essentially it lets us cycle through the deck for better cards. We have a number of things that we can pitch because Burblefish creates usually pretty bad 1-drop cards that we can discard easily. Ballistic Bot gives us Ignitions that we can discard. Even Poro Cannon, if we have enough elusive threats, it gives us Daring Poros we can discard. So this can really draw us into better cards often. And fast level Twisted Fate or fast I guess pump's not the right word, but fast increase our Ruined Rex triggers, so lots of good value we still get out of Rummage, which is why I'm running the 2 copies of it. I'm also running 3 copies of Get Excited. While this is a lot of copies of Get Excited, there are a number of good things right now that it kills for your opponent's threats, and more importantly, it's another big burn spell at fast speed, and I do really love my fast speed burn spells. One of my favorite cards in the deck, though, 3 copies of Suit Up. I really love this card. It just feels so cool when you get to use it. And as someone who really loves Fizz, a Suit Up Fizz is just the best thing ever, because a 4/4 that gets elusive every time you cast a spell, and if you try to target it, you just play another spell and counter that. Really, really sweet. I absolutely love Suit Up, and we'll run 3 copies of it. It's really good in so many ways. It's great with Fizz, but it's great with Daring Poro to make the 1/1 suddenly a 4/4. Even with a Burblefish, you're still increasing the damage by 2, and it's worth noting as well, if you do Suit Up a Fizz and then he levels up afterwards, he will actually go up to a 5 power, so that's really cool. It'll be a 5/5, but yes, he does still get that stat increase, but if you Suit Up after leveling up, then he will just be a 4/4. So that's one cool thing to keep in mind as well. And even if we draw this early on, we do have those 3 copies of Pick a Card, plus Twisted Fate has Pick a Card as a champion spell, so we have plenty of ways to tuck it back into our deck to draw it again and get that cost reduction on it. And finally, 1 copy of Mind Meld, because this will just kill people out of nowhere. If you manage to have more elusives than your opponent, we cast a ton of spells. This can very easily make our stuff all 6/6s to like 9/9, something obscene like that. And it just immediately kills your opponent right then and there, even if they're at full health. So, love Mind Meld. Still definitely running a copy of it. It's still good right now in the meta as far as I'm concerned. So, really, really solid inclusion. Definitely still running it in the list, although I am only running the 1 because maybe I'm a coward, but honestly, I don't think it's really worth running more than 1 of. We can find it fairly consistently with all of our card draw, so we don't really want to create too many bad opening hands, so we have enough ways to find it. It's good enough at 1 copy. As for some of the flex spots, one of the biggest things to talk about, Twisted Fate got nerfed since we last covered this deck, so that does lend a lot of credence to the idea of running Teemo in the deck because he is way more aggressive. He's another solid 1-mana elusive threat, and he's going to put a bunch of puff caps into your opponent's deck that can kill them as well. If you Suit Up a Teemo, that's also a nightmare for our opponent, so there is a lot of great reasons to run Teemo. And it's basically the only reason I'm not is that it feels like when we're doing so much card drawing and building around this Ruined Rex, it just seems foolish to not run Twisted Fate, but maybe it would be even better to run Teemo and just be way more aggressive. So it is a legitimate card to consider, and you just put in all 3 copies of it, and you're almost always going to get some crazy turn 1 play once you put Teemo in. So that's one big reason to run him. As for some followers you can do, Zonai Urchin's really great if you're going to be staying in that card draw package style, because this is another great way to draw a card, or cycle a card while putting a body on the board, which is really, really nice, although it is a 2/1, so she dies fairly easily, and has no real great way to get through, and most often we don't actually want to play this on turn 1, because we don't really want to be discarding cards quite yet at that point, so I'm not running it. Definitely worth running, though, or considering at the very least. One of the weirder picks, I mean, these are all a bunch of weird flex spots, but they actually do work in this deck. And so, Chirian Sumpworker is one. This seems a little bit crazy because we have no ways to duplicate it. Well, we have iterative improvement, but we don't have access to, like, say, Stalking Shadows to find us more copies, or Fading Memories, or the Noxian spells to copy it. We don't have the other Piltover copy stuff. We just have iterative improvement. But we do have iterative improvement, so that's one other way to flip our Sumpworker. And we just draw a bunch of cards, so we can get to another Sumpworker very easily. And it's a decent elusive threat on its own. It's a 1/2, and once we get that second one, we have a 4/2 that deals 1 damage to all of our enemy stuff, including them, every time it attacks. So that's nuts, and it's only 2 mana for that. So really, really good. Does crazy things for us. So it's actually worth considering in the deck as a really solid elusive threat. And finally, I have to mention him because he got buffed. Slotbot, this is not the all-in Slotbot deck that the casino deck, as it was called, that was previously seen, that was never really good enough, but kind of close to be like a tier 3, maybe tier 2 deck, but really a tier 3 deck. Really, really fun deck. It just had a hard way of killing your opponent because you didn't have a lot of ways to force damage through, but drew a ton of cards. We also draw a ton of cards. We don't draw quite as much as Brash Gambler does, but we still draw a ton of cards, so you can run Slotbot. The big problem here is we don't have the Casino Sumpworks map trick to give it elusive, so it's not as reliable way of killing our opponent if we don't put things like Sumpworks map in, and obviously that starts getting really bad for us because it's not a great card in a deck that's already very elusive. But I do want to mention it because it is a neat card that did just get buffed that does work well with what our deck is trying to do. So those are the big flex spots for the deck. There's other spells and stuff like that you could consider, but realistically speaking, the spell package is pretty solid as is, so I really don't see too many other spells that right now are worth considering over the normal stuff. So that's the flex spots. As for some basic mulligans, your idea here is generally speaking to be fairly aggressive. I've played this deck a fair bit, and what I've often found is much like playing Burn in Magic the Gathering, if you're playing the control deck, you're probably going to lose. You aren't a control deck. You need to be focused on killing your opponent. So you're willing to trade things to kind of set up that crazy late turn that wins against most decks, but you are still looking to be very aggressive, and if you start using your burn as removal, unless you absolutely have to, you are oftentimes going to find yourself thinking, you know, if I had shot that Mystic Shot at them, I probably would have won. So, generally speaking, you're looking to kill your opponent as aggressively, as quickly as possible, so you almost always want that, well, I won't say you almost always. If you have a turn 1 Fizz, you will keep that in every single hand. It does not matter. You will keep turn 1 Fizz every time. You'll keep turn 2 Ballistic Bot most times. Burblefish you don't want to really have in your opener. Ruined Rex you don't want to have in your opener. Suit Up you will mulligan 100% of the time. Never keep it in your opening hand unless you are playing against some ludicrous all-in Shadow Isles control deck, or say TF Swain was always a good deck for it too, because if you play a Fizz and you suit up it, your opponent is going to lose the game, because TF Swain usually only has Zap Sprayfin to block elusives, and they have no good way of killing a Fizz, especially a 4-1 Fizz. Their best chance is Twisted Fate red card killing him, so in a situation like that, you may keep a suit up. Even if you don't have the Fizz, you can always use on another elusive threat, which is just as bad for them, but literally 99% of the games you should be mulliganing a suit up because you really want to get the cost reducer off of it. Pick a card is great in your openers too, because that just means you're going to be able to really refresh your hand at some point in the game, so that's really solid. Daring Poro is pretty much an instant keep in every hand, although multiples of it get significantly worse. So you really want to look for something to be doing in your first 2 turns. You kind of always want to have a Daring Poro or a Fizz for turn 1, but you can get away with Ballistic Bot turn 2 and that being your kind of aggressive play. Generally speaking, you're not going to want to keep anything too high cost. A 1 of Twisted Fate's not too bad into most matchups, especially if you think you are going to have to play a little bit on the more controlling side, but against aggro decks, Twisted Fate is going to go up in priority, as well as Ballistic Bot, because it does block very well, and that can just buy you time to kill them with your crazy elusive plan, which does work against most aggro decks. As for mid-range, you have a bunch of elusives. That is your most reliable way to win, and against most mid-range decks, you're usually looking at Demacia, you're usually looking at Targon, maybe Bilgewater occasionally. You're not usually looking at things that have counterspells. There's a couple of Shurima decks, but that's about it. So Mind Meld is ludicrous in the matchup because you can get a bunch of elusives out, Mind Meld, kill your opponent instantly. It doesn't even matter if they've been blocking everything up till now. It doesn't even matter if they have a Sharp Sight. You're going to make a bunch of huge elusives, kill your opponent. That's the big plan. Look for the Burblefish. Look for the the mind meld. It's possibly even worth keeping it in your opening hand in that case. But look for a bunch of elusives that are going to pressure your opponent and then penultimately slam that mind meld and kill them. Against control, you are looking to be very aggressive. Ballistic Bot is going to be really good because it survives a lot of removal. And then Fizz is really good because they can't target him, although against Freljord decks, they're just going to kill it with the crazy amounts of board wipes they have. So that's not great unless you're going turn 1 Fizz into turn 2 suit up off the top, which then they're in trouble. But Fizz is still your go-to best card against control because it is so hard for them to deal with it. And that's the deck for this week's video. So if you enjoyed the deck, you can find a deck code and a deck link in the description below, and let's jump straight into some ranked matches and see how this kind of blast from the past of 2 seasons ago does with the new Ruined Rex. Okay. The Battle of the Nerfed Giants. I think Azir Aurelia is actually kind of poised for a comeback, because people aren't really built to beat it anymore. So I really think we could actually see it come back. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Maybe we shouldn't have mulliganed the pick a card. Oh, well, might be a game for finding out if Ruined Rex is good or not. But we don't have any real way to boost him. I mean, I guess turn 4 Twisted Fate into turn 5 Ruined Rex is something. Speaking of something. Do I have to just kill that? You know what? I could take the 3. Okay. A little bit of damage, but... Ooh. That raises questions. That raises questions. So we could pick a card to boost this Rex. Or we could save pick a card to be good with Twisted Fate. Can you improve perfection? Maybe we should have boosted the Rex. Let's just red card here. Do I try for killing this sparring student? Or do I just fizzle that? Okay, that's unfortunate.
Who says I don't share?
Okay. Do we take the 5? That is the question. I mean, we can't kill that. Alright, we're gonna take the 5. That might be a mistake, but... Okay, I think we just swing. What is the worst card here? Probably Mind Meld.
It's luck.
And we keep the Get Excited open. It's tempting to Ignition here, but...
Inferior design. Can you improve perfection?
Okay, that's sweet.
The Emperor commands, the land obeys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just go for it. That is super unfortunate. Well, that is Ruined Rex looking at its worst. Well, oh well.
Men die, but Sharima lives forever.
Okay.
Stacking the odds.
Yep.
Your Emperor command. Tell the people what you have seen today.
Decisions. I mean, I don't think we can take another 5. But can we lose our ballistic bot?
So ordinary. Wait a minute.
Okay. I mean, Burblefish is getting close to really good. No, and then it's gonna bounce the Twisted Fate. What an unfortunate time to not be able to kill that. We're so close, 1 mana away from killing it. Okay.
In Sharima's name.
Well, not much use to suiting up here, so we're just gonna go for Burblefish. Okay. So if I Twisted Fate, I can't. Yeah, I think we're on the try to kill our opponent plan. I think that's the world we're in right now. So if we do this, we do 7 damage, drop him to 2.
This one's for the boss.
Force him to block. Okay, we like that. We like that a lot.
May my soul find its air.
The order is given.
So we have to survive this turn. So we take 2. He has 2 unknowns in hand plus a Sand Soldier. Plus he's gonna draw a card. So what's the chance he gets Nopify? That's the name of the game right now. Okay. Okay. So he's gonna do 1 more? No? Full swing?
Your Emperor commands.
I mean, we just go for it, right? Like, there's no advantage not to go for it. So that's blocking the most damage, and this isn't enough to kill. Yeah, let's go for it. See if he has it. Woo! And that's what I love about Fizz TF, is because the top of your deck is always relevant. It always matters. For turns like that. Oh, we will absolutely take a win like that. Well, Battle of the Old Greats, and looks like we win, even with a very, very bad Ruined Rex. On to the next. Uh-oh. Championless Poros, huh? That deck is actually fairly solid. A lot better than I expected it to be, anyways. Okay, I think we keep the pick a card. We keep the Poro Cannon. And we see if our opponent can match. They don't have a ton of removal. So, like, pick a card Tron could actually work. On the bright side, if he plays a Daring Poro, we will swing into that. We will 100% swing into that. Our Poro will not get any bigger, but theirs will. So we are fine nipping the bud early, so to speak. I forgot that that board has the cool little Nexus thing. Is that still the only board with that? I wonder, maybe the Sentinel ones, might have that now. Okay. This Mind Meld could be really good for us, eventually. Do we just go for the red card here? I think we do, and force him to use the Poro Snacks. And if he doesn't have Poro Snacks, they're all dead, so... That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's pick a card and tuck Mind Meld, because we don't really want it yet. Okay. I'm trying to remember how much burn this deck runs. I think it does run a little bit. Ooh, wow. Well, he drew extraordinarily well. I don't think we can take a hit like that, so... Farewell. Yeah, that's extraordinary. Top deck that many of them? Ooh, this is a turn for Ruined Rex, though. Oh, losing Fizz is gonna be so unfortunate, though. Alright. That's a little unfortunate. Maybe that wasn't the right play. Because he has one more elusive in hand, and I can't block that one.
This one's for the boss.
I guess we're Poro Cannoning pitching this Fizz. Like, I guess that's a thing we're doing. Ugh, he has that many Daring Poros? Well, we may just die to one of the best Poro hands and starts I've ever seen. Like, he could just, Borealis, right? What? He drew all three? Without any way? Without any modifier? He drew all three? That's insane! That's crazy!
Shuffle.
Ironically, I actually kind of want the Death Ray more. Well, it's not going to do that much here, so I guess we just shuffle it away. Alright. Well, he can't kill Twisted Fate, and I'm about to draw 5 cards this turn and instant level him up. So, that's pretty cool. I mean, he can't kill him. He's out of mana. But he can pump his stuff a bunch this turn.
I guess you can win them all.
Okay. So we...
Soak it in.
Draw another card. Okay. That's not bad. Yep. Saw that coming.
Hold it, partner. Looks like trouble.
Yeah, I think we do this to trade. But we're also kind of looking just to burn my opponent out at this point. Oh yeah, I suppose we don't actually trade, but that dies to a red card now. Alright, so we play another Daring Poro. We have blockers at least. And then we go Nexus. Although maybe it would have been better to draw a bunch of cards, but... he shouldn't have a way of board wiping me. So we've got that going for us.
Winter, take you.
Wow! Interesting. That's the worst surrender I've ever seen in my life.
Outplayed.
I have no idea why he surrendered there. I mean, I was in such a bad shape. I mean, there was definitely a ton of ways that I could come out of that. And I mean, red card kills the 3-1, and then gold card taps down one of his flyers. So I don't have to lose my whole board, but like, I'm still pretty much on the like mind meld or bust plan. So really, really weird choice by my opponent to concede there, but we'll take the win. On to the next. Lurker aggro. How do we feel about Lurker aggro? Seems like that could be pretty bad for us. We don't block particularly well. Mystic Shot's actually pretty good here. Do I keep both? Pitch the one Poro Cannon? Maybe. Not great on turn 1. Man, Cannon Barrage could be so good here. Ugh. Okay, that's not the worst card to lose. Ballistic Bot's not bad in this matchup, but it's definitely not the most important or the most relevant card. Do I aggressively kill that? Well, we're Mystic Shotting something. Do I chump and kill that? That is the question. I don't think we need to chump yet. So let's kill the Fearsome. And that way we can Daring Poro plus Bank Mystic Shot. Or we can Daring Poro plus Suit Up. I was waiting for a Snapjaw. I mean, maybe we can outrace our opponent. Maybe we should stop Mystic Shotting his units and start saving Mystic Shot to go face. Okay. That's probably unfortunate. Well, I can Iterative plus Mystic Shot. Not awful. Okay, that is awful. Okay, so we're losing this now. It's gonna be a ton of damage. Okay. So now we block plus kill one. I think we're ruined Rexing next turn. I think that's the play. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, we cleared those two threats. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what we saw coming. But we wiped his board at least, but I think we are pretty dead here. I mean, Lurker aggro is a very bad deck, but we aren't particularly great against it. I think we need to have, like, the perfect aggro hand. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we probably have to block with Ballistic Bot here.
Once I stamp papers, now faces.
Yup. Okay, so now we're just dead? Yeah, that's good. Alright, should have played the Burble Fish, but it's not like it really matters. We were never coming back from that. But, yeah, we aren't terribly great into that deck, because we are a bit of a slow aggro deck, and while they can't block our units, they do have Death from Below and probably Bone Skewer, so all of that's good for them, and our units line up very poorly against theirs if we don't have buffs for them, and they quickly get beyond the point that we can just eat their units, but oh well, on to the next. Okay, so probably Golden Challenge, which means they also probably have life gain. None of which is good for us. I don't know that it's worth keeping this iterative, but we're going to. No. Wow. I was about to say, not terribly likely for them to have a turn 1 play, but, yup. And Bright Steel Protector, go. Okay. How good is Ballistic Bot here? Okay.
Strength and grace, beauty in display. Flesh was weak.
Okay.
Look at me now.
So our Fizz is probably dead this turn.
Perfection. Run them through.
Yep. Saw that coming. Yeah, that's fine. Not ideal, but it's fine. Okay. Healing himself. Mountain Goat, okay. Do I want to just kill that right now? No.
Perfection. Safety disengaged. System upgrade. Fire till nothing moves.
Okay. Well, we're building an army of Daring Toros, if nothing else. Okay. don't really want to tuck any of these cards, so I think we do just pass the turn. I mean, it's not impossible for us to just kill our opponent with ignitions eventually. The problem is, they have sharp sights in their deck, and those are very bad for us. Oh lord. Do I want to kill that? Because I could kill that. I don't think we care enough. Not yet. I mean, it can be a problem, because Cataclysm is obviously really bad for us. Alright, well. Play the Fizz. And then we ignition. And then I think we may actually tuck the other ignition. It's hard to say. Although maybe at this point we could... Oh no, we play Burblefish, then we tuck whatever Burblefish creates. Right, that's the line. So we ignition one more time to make Burblefish free. Then we play Burblefish and we tuck whatever card it creates. Unless it creates something obscenely broken, which it's not going to. Parley's actually not that bad, though. All things considered. Okay, and then we tug it. Another Fizz actually wouldn't be that bad. Okay, that's good. We like that. How likely are we to be punished for going for another Burblefish? I feel like we just have to go for another Burblefish and hope for the best. At least now I can rummage pitch these two. Or, well, I suppose I'd probably pitch Stress Test at this point. Yeah, it's fine, so we're gonna lose Fizz. Oh, he's going for the Burblefish. That's crazy. Well, that was the optimal line for us. It's actually a pretty big Ruined Rex. Huh. Well, I guess in theory, Poro Cannon is worth more damage. Okay. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, that's fine. So we still do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Man, it's a shame not to use Rune Rex, but this is a really bad board state for Rune Rex, so realistically speaking, it was not a great time to Rune Rex. Even though this is a max size Rune Rex, we are just better off losing it. Okay. What are you blocking? Blocking that. I think we're okay with that. We're not dead yet. I mean, we've got 5 points of burn, so we just need to get another 3 in. Which isn't terribly likely, but it's also not terribly unlikely. So I can do 6 damage right here. He can't kill me with what's on board. Although he can use Cataclysm to kill one of my things. And then...
I demand satisfaction. Aha.
Oh. Yeah, there you go. I can't do anything about that. That I can't do anything about. I think we chump block here. I think that's the world we're in.
Don't worry, I am here.
That's so close. Okay.
To the flag!
Probably has sharp sight. Okay. Does he have the challenge card? I mean, he can challenge with Jarvan.
You're Terra, the protector.
Yikes.
Climb well, and
Flesh was weak, but look at me now.
Now he's gonna challenge this, because he has to kill this. I wish it showed you what they were targeting. Like, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Really glitchy.
With me!
Alright, well,
Ours is but to
top of the deck.
and die.
It ultimately comes down to what's on top of our deck. That won't do it. Can I survive an attack? I cannot.
Just a little farther.
Yeah, that's lethal.
never submit.
Yep. 1 point of damage off. So close, but yeah, our opponent got obscenely lucky. Had the perfect curve out. If they didn't have Fleet Feather turn 1, we could have hit him for 2, and that would have made the difference, I think. Oh wait, no. They attacked on turn 1, but still, we were 1 point off. If they didn't kill that one ballistic bot, we had him, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. I might have... Did I Daring Poro 2 and pitch an Ignition instead of Ruined Rex? Because that may have ultimately cost me, but oh well. On to the next. Riven Action. Interesting. Well, if I've learned anything from the games tonight, it's that we are an aggro deck, and that's all that matters. We just have to play aggressive and try to win as quick as we can, and we're going to do our best to try. Alright. Looks like we're getting the turn 1 Fizz attack in. Playful Trickster could be good.
I'm cold, I'm hungry, and there's rocks in my boots.
Well, he drew the 1 drop on the wrong turn, I guess.
Arda's gonna make a meal of them.
Did I say this Playful Trickster is going to be good? I mean this second copy of Fizz to replace our dead Fizz. Do I block that? No, it's only 2 damage. It's only 2 damage, and blocking could get my ballistic bot killed, and we have too many plans for that. Yeah, I think we can actually play this this Twisted Fate. I think we can go red card Twisted Fate here. He's got decisions to make. If he tries to kill Fizz in response, at least I can use stress testing.
Taken.
Cargo!
I was born in battle and raised by war.
Okay, let's see if he can kill my Fizz in response. Nope. Okay.
I'm cold, I'm hungry, there's rocks in me boots.
I'm sorry, who are you?
I don't think we want to swing with the rest. I don't think that's a good idea. I decidedly do not think that ends well for us.
System upgrade.
Second Twist of Fate or a pick a card, both are really good for us. So we're gonna play Zap.
Hey, Zap. With the hand, can't say no to Fizz. No turning
Okay.
back now.
We are willing to block with a couple of things. Does he have Blade of the Exile this turn? Huh, he does. Can he cast it? How much is it? It's 1 mana? Okay.
Even shattered hearts mend in time.
Okay, that's a really fast Riven level up, I'll give him that. Okay. So the world we're in is, can we kill our opponent before they kill us? That is the new world we're living in. Okay, so we're pick-a-carding this turn. That is a ton of damage.
The lost. Deja vu.
What am I more willing to lose to that? Or do I just take the hit? That seems crazy, right? Yeah, I think that's a little too... That's that's a little too crazy. Alright, so we're gonna tuck this Ignition then.
Let him think it's luck.
I think drawing a billion cards next turn is our best chance to win. Especially if we can get this Burblefish for cheap. That's Burn. And that's a Poro Cannon, which is also really, really good. So, how many spells can we cast? So we can do this, pitching this. That gets them down to 2. This gets them down to 1. And I can draw 3 cards, which gets us almost to leveled up. So if I pitch this plus one of these Daring Poros, I think we want to keep this Mystic Shot. Okay. So then I can do this to tuck the Ruined Rex.
Shuffle.
And then I can play free Burblefishes. Free Burblefishes. Plus keep Mystic Shot up. Okay, that's not lethal, and that means we probably win. 6, 8, 11. I mean, that is almost lethal. He cannot Rite of Negation, so I think this is lethal. Whew! Alright. That was a nuts Riven turn, but that was an equally nuts Wiggly Burblefish turn, so... luck of the draw favored us for once. Alright, so how do we do in our matches? Well, we went a total of 3-2 in the video, but overall I am 5-4, so pretty close to that win rate. Technically speaking, a 56% win rate. I have a feeling it would probably go down if I played a few more games, but hard to say without doing that. But I will probably play a little more of this. One big takeaway is that Ruined Rex did not seem that strong. I was hoping that the card would be very good, and we are one of the better decks out there to actually use Ruined Rex, because we do draw so many cards a turn, and also we are a competitive deck, unlike Casino, which also draws a ton of cards a turn. But the problem is, it never really had that high of an impact. Not quite like the old, like, 7 Cannon Barrage Riptide Rex that basically put so many triggers on the stack so quickly that it was guaranteed to do a fair bit of work, whereas this one, if even one trigger doubles up on a target, like in the Azir Aurelia game, it hurts a lot. So, yeah, a bit rough there. That said, looking at our overall win rates, we beat Azir Aurelia, which is a real deck. We beat No Champion Poros, which is a real deck. We lost to Lurk Aggro, which is a real deck. And I also lost to LeBlanc Ash Riven, which was off-screen, off-camera, whatever you want to call it. So, 2-2 against real decks. Against, like, fake people messing around with whatever decks. That's where the win rate gets a little bit better with the total, but it was a weird deck. A weird experience playing it again. It was fun to be getting some of those nutty wiggly burblefish turns, especially like that last game. But definitely the buffs hurt, or the nerfs hurt this deck a lot, especially since it got nerfed again with the rummage nerfs. But yeah, it's a neat little deck. It's probably better off if you just go the 3 Rummage and the 3 Zap Sprayfins, because I would argue Zap Sprayfin did a lot more work for us than than Ruined Rex did, especially with that last game. It was particularly relevant. But yeah, I think probably the Ruined Rex is just more of a meme inclusion at this point. I was really hoping it would be good, but this seemed like the best deck to play it in, and it's still underwhelmed, so probably not the right card to be going into, but at least we know now. If you're interested in the deck, though, and trying it out for yourself and seeing what Ruined Rex can do for you, there is a deck code and a deck link in the description below, and if you did enjoy this deck guide, you can leave a like, comment below, and subscribe for more Legends of Runeterra and other card game-related content.